be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note that we will be recording the meeting. Your video and audio contribution may be used for club marketing purposes. Also, please mute your microphone when you are not speaking so that our speakers are not interrupted. Today's theme is fun childhood memories. Back to you, Madam President, Distinguished Toastmaster Lois Margolin, to kick things off.
Thank you, sir. I am excited to be the Toastmaster of the day and the president. So right now, I'm just going to throw it over to our amazing Toastmaster of the day and get things started, because you know what? We are going to have a lot of fun. This is National Game Day, and one of the things that I thought was really interesting was the kazoo. Does anybody remember the kazoo? It's that weird thing, you can still make noises even though you don't have one. I don't know, but Jim Barber had it up on his screen, and I've been practicing all day, and every now and then I get the tone just right. My husband thought I was absolutely insane. But that's what's fun about being a child, is that you can play with things and figure out how life works. We have a fabulous setup today, and no matter how good one individual is, it takes a team to make this phenomenal day or meeting, evening, day, morning work. Let's welcome part of our team. First, we have our timer, David Carr. Would you please introduce yourself and tell us what you'll be doing today?
All right. At various times during this meeting, I will turn into a pocket watch, and the pocket watch will turn green, yellow, and red at the appropriate times.
All right, thank you.
We'll try and when it gets to being red, hit the brakes. You've run the light, but you have 30 seconds to wrap up.
Thank you. Our vote counter, Jim Barber.
Yes, Madam Toastmaster. During introductions, I said that I was from South Florida, but more specifically, I am from Broward County, South Florida, which means that I have a long and treasured history of mutilating votes. I will be your vote counter this evening, and I will attempt to give a quasi-accurate count as to the different things that we're going to be counting. Madam President, Madam Toastmaster, whatever.
Doesn't he scare you when he says stuff like that? Our grammarian, Trisha, would you please tell us about your role?
Hello, I'm going to be the grammarian tonight. The word of the day is kazoo, which we know. And just to give the parts of speech, it's a noun. It's a musical instrument, like we saw. Makes the buzzing sound, and Lois did a great representation of that. So my job is to see how many times people use the word of the day and use proper English language.
And it will definitely be a challenge.
Back to you, Madam President.
Thank you, Trisha. Our watcher, Mr. Jimmy Dent.
Okay, thank you. I'll be watching everybody's video image, your lighting, your centering, any distractive movements you might make, anything like that, and how well you appear on video.
Okay.
Back to you, Lois.
Thank you, our chat monitor, Monica.
Good evening, everyone. As chat monitor, I will monitor the chat box as we go through the different areas of the meeting and see how much entertainment I can get out of that, and then report back at the end. During speeches, I would encourage everyone to kind of keep it lower so that it doesn't disrupt the speakers, but any other time, fair game. Back to you, Lois.
All right, thank you. We're going to go ahead and mix up the order of the speakers. We'll start with our 3 to 5 minute speech first. This is from our Vice President of Membership, Elaine. Elaine found our guest speaker for our special workshop, which is just next week, Gestures for Connection. Today, she will invite you to explore. Does it pay to prepare? And share a few tips on preparing for our special event. Oh, before we do that, Mr. John Quick, I am so sorry, I forgot the ah counter. Would you please explain the ah roll?
Madam Toastmaster, as the counter, I'm listening for ahs, so's, ands as sentence starters or run-ons and double clutches where we repeat the same word multiple times. We've got 3 ahs already, so be careful, Madam Toastmaster.
3 ahs. I'm in trouble. Thank you, sir. Please welcome Elaine as she talks and explains all about our February 24th special event.
Greetings to you, Madam Toastmaster and President Lois Margolin, my fellow online presenters, honored guests, and of course, replay viewers. I am really excited about next week's upcoming event. Now, from time to time here in Online Presenters, we have workshops. I don't know if anyone has ever done this before for online presenters, but I'm going to suggest to you that if you slot aside a little time to prepare in advance for this event, you will benefit magnificently. What are we exploring? We're exploring gestures for connection, a new look. Now, I'm curious, do some of you, after you do a speech at Online Presenters, do you go back and watch your speeches? Do you see if the evaluation and the feedback you got was valid? Might you even have noticed something more you could improve? And since we are working so hard in this arena to have effective use of our frame and use our gestures, do you look at that? Well, the first thing I want to nudge you to do is to go on Online Presenters website and find your speech titles and dates, and then either in the replay tab or on YouTube, watch some of those speeches. Watch your gestures and watch some of the other people. Turn the volume down on the video and catch people to see how much they're gesturing. Without even knowing what their content is, are they engaging? So I'm going to go into screen share mode so that you can easily find when you've done your speeches, because I don't know if you're like me, might not be at the top of your head what month, year, date you did a speech. Here we go. I'm going to go into screen share mode and let me get, I've got to move things around so I can get my correct tabs. Here we go. When you visit Online Presenters from your laptop or desktop, if you go on up here, into what's called the dashboard, you're going to get a different kind of screen. Here it is. Watch my cursor. I'm going down to Toastmasters, and then I come on down to My Progress. I don't know if any of you have ever explored the back end of this website, but there's some neat stuff back here. Under this thing called Progress Report, you can see all kinds of things about your progress, your roles, but speaking specifically about speeches, here's a tab on speeches. So I click this, and it indeed shows me, let's see if I can get to my scroll to move this down. It shows the name and title and from what project level my speech was in. So let's say I see one 50 years after being a protege, and I'm curious, what was my gesturing like for that? Well, I can easily see it was on August 24th. So now that I know that, I can go back to the video replay tab and easily find that video. How convenient is that? And just, I'd like to see a poll of hands. Have any of you ever even known that you could find your own speech list? If you have, raise your hand for me. I'm curious. I bet few people have known this. But anyway, so if you do, let's go back. Let's go back to the website. Let's go back here. One more time. Sorry, hung up. Anyway, right here is the video replay tab. And when you click that open, you can scroll down and see the various events. Am I actually in screen share mode? Yeah, okay, good. All right, the next thing I want to go on over to is 2 more resources that you can check out. So first
Elaine,
off,
quick question.
Yes.
Is the video replays only for members, or can guests come and look at it as well?
guests can come and look at that. That is a great question. Those are available to the public to view either directly on YouTube or from our video replay tab. We provide great resources. There's wonderful learning here for anyone who watches our replay and isn't even a member. Of course, we'd love for you to join. Okay, just a few more things about our guest, Akeem Nowak. He's got lots of cred. He's been featured in the New York Times, Forbes, the Wall Street Journal, all these other fine places. He's an author of 3 books on presentation, on connection, and on being in the moment. And there are 2 places on our website where you can even access the links to a great preparatory article to read. It's this one, which is on his website. When you pitch an idea, gesture please. And if you familiarize yourself with some of the content, it will help you start even formulating the questions. What more do I want to know about gesturing? This event with Akeem is going to be interactive, and you will have an opportunity to ask questions. It's going to be a dynamic evening, so I'm just going to recap some of the things you can do. Find your speeches, go back and watch a few, watch a couple other folks from online presenters, watch their past speeches with the volume down. Do you feel like they will engage you just from their gestures, the animation they have, their facial expressions, their movement? Be curious, bring more attention to any of the videos you come by in the coming week to watch gestural vocabulary. And start making some questions for our guest because he wants to make this an interactive event. Does preparing pay? I think so. And I hope you'll do it and also invite some guests to our meeting next week. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Elaine. That was fabulous. David's putting on there that he went a little bit over, but he didn't interrupt because you were on a roll. So since you were doing something that was a little unique, we let it slide. Looking forward to next week. I think we're all putting together those thoughts and questions, and I think he's going to be awesome. I love body language, so this is just perfect for me. Our second speaker is Chris. Chris is doing his 38th Toastmaster speech today in pursuit of his DTM, or his Distinguished Toastmaster. And this speech is going towards his Advanced Communicator Silver Award. The project is called A Dramatic Talk, in which Chris has to deliver a 5 to 7 minute speech, giving an entertaining dramatic talk about an experience or incident. The speech is entitled Death of the Aerostar. Please welcome Toastmaster, soon to be DTM, Chris.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. The date was December 20th, 1991. I just got my driver's license about a month prior. I was still a little bit apprehensive about driving because I was not a good driver. I was hanging out with my friend Brandon, who was 15 years old at the time. And we had made plans to go to Chi-Chi's Mexican restaurant. I don't know if anybody remembers Chi-Chi's. It was a Mexican chain restaurant. It lasted until about early 2000s. And so that night, my parents had hesitantly let me borrow the family car, which was a Ford Aerostar. And I say hesitantly because they knew I'd only been driving for about a month. But what they didn't know was in that month, I had already gotten about 3 tickets, 2 speeding tickets, and I think I had run a stop sign, so I was not a good driver. However, my best friend Brandon, he was a good driver. Now, he was only 15, but we grew up outside of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, which is pretty rural, lots of farmland, and most of my friends growing up had driven tractors, and so driving really was nothing to them. So that night, we decided to head to Chi-Chi's, and because Brandon drove a lot better than me, I actually let him drive my parents' car, which I thought was going to be fine. We are going down this country road, and he ended up on the berm, as we call it, the shoulder, and he hit a little bit of gravel. And I guess to overcompensate that, he ended up turning the wheel a little too hard and ended up on the other side of the road. And because of the speed he was going, he actually ended up hitting a boulder, which then flipped the car a few times. Now, luckily for us, when the car came to, the car ended up right side up. So we were able to exit the car as one normally would. Very shaken up, obviously. The car is now sprawled across the road. And the first person to come upon the scene was actually our principal's wife, who we knew. Their daughters had gone to school with us, and she called 911, the police. And before the police got there, I pulled Brandon aside and said, look, we can't say that you're driving. You don't have a driver's license. We're going to have to lie. We're going to have to concoct a story, because if you get caught driving, you're not going to get your license. I'm probably going to lose mine. Let's just say it was me. And that's what we went with. So the cops got there, and they made the call to my parents, a call that a parent should never have to receive. My mom still talks about it to this day when she got a call saying, Adams County Control, your son has been in a serious accident. So the cops showed up, they did their job, and I should have gone home at that point, but I didn't. I was avoiding my dad. My dad had pretty much threatened me to within an inch of my life about taking the car out, and look what happened. So at that point, I decided, well, since I was driving, I was going to go to my friend Brandon's house and apologize to his mother for almost killing him, when actually he was the one that almost killed me. I got to the house and I waited, and my father was calling continuously the whole time, and I did not want to talk to him because I knew it was going to happen. I was avoiding the inevitable. And finally, Brandon's mom showed up, and I apologized to her, and she took me home. And I thought, well, maybe with another parent there, an adult, my best friend, it would soften the blow with my dad, but it didn't. I mean, it's been almost 30 years, and I can still feel what it was like to sit there in the chair and hear my father tell me how I destroyed his trust up to that point, and anything going forward. I was all kinds of punished. And yeah, and that was pretty hard, you know, hearing of somebody you admired and looked up to and wanted to be like when you grew up. And the funny thing is, the next day, I'd been scheduled to have my first driver's license picture taken, and I still have that license, and you can see the look on my face of shock of what I had gone through not only 24 hours before. So in the ensuing months, you know, me and Brandon felt like we had to keep up the secret, you know, saying I was driving and you know, he was just a passenger. But two teenagers keeping a secret, well, if you were a teenager, you know how that usually goes. And not only that, people came to find out that the way that the car was damaged, if I would have been driving, I would have been killed, because the roof actually caved over the driver's side. And I was taller, but Brandon was shorter. So everybody kind of figured it out for themselves. And maybe my parents knew, because about 4 or 5 months later, I got caught in a lie, and my parents wanted to punish me, and my retaliation was I was going to run away. So I ran away. I actually ran to Brandon's barn, and I was going to figure out my next move, which really was only getting to the Pennsylvania Turnpike and thumbing it. I was going to hitchhike and maybe move out west or something to avoid punishment, because isn't that how things go? So Brandon's mother called my dad, and he came and picked me up, and sitting in front of my parents, they basically gave me an amnesty, and they said, you know what? Tell us anything you want to, and you're not going to get punished for it. So I knew I had it out. And there it was. So I told them the truth. And everything was okay. And I guess they got over it, because once they knew the truth, that Christmas they had bought me a Matchbox car of an Aerostar, and they basically crushed it and gave it to me for Christmas to serve as a reminder to be careful and always tell your parents the truth. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Wow, well, that was certainly dramatic. Thank you, Christopher. Appreciate it when somebody actually shares a part of their childhood. Even though you didn't have a kazoo in the car, it was okay. We still understood where you were going with this. But wow, definitely a challenge. I kind of commiserate with your parents. Having adult kids, I understand. So anyway, our third speaker is Toastmaster Krishn. And Krishn is speaking from the Entertainment Manual, Resources for Entertainment. The title of his speech is Be Yourself. Let's see. Did you know that life is a challenge? Krishn found out about it in a weird way. Please welcome Toastmaster Krishn.
Did you know you have 1 in 3,000 chances of being hit by lightning, and 1 in 14 million chances of winning the national lottery? Isn't that exciting? But guess what? We all have, or we had, 1 in 14 trillion chances to be born as ourselves. And despite that, we tend to live life not really on our terms and not really to our expectations until it's too late. Madam Toastmasters, my fellow Toastmasters and dear guests, in our lifetime, we always try to be our best. We always strive to be better. We aim to be good at one thing or another. I don't know about you, but at least for me, that was how life was. And life was not easy all the time, especially when I grew up under the umbrella of a matriarch. The family matriarch, my Nan, the grandmother of all the grandchildren, and she would have the best quality that people would look up to: love. Just like any child would look upon her Nan, my Nan would be loving to anyone who would listen and follow her words, and critical to anyone who would just disobey her. She was the Duracell bunny incarnated. And my Nan, the matriarch of the family, had her final say in everything. Everything. Especially in my life. Because I was the youngest one of the family. I was the apple of her eyes. But yet, I found out that we were apples and oranges. As I grew up, I would always run to my Nan and say, Nan, I just finished my studies. What do you think I should go into? Well, Krishn, we do not have an engineer in the family. Why don't you go and study that? Okay. And I was off to study engineering. Nan, I think I have to buy a car now. What do you think I should have? Krishn, don't buy a car. Buy a 4x4 a pickup truck, because we're going to use it to go to the market. Ah, good idea. Nan, I'm dating this girl now. How do you find her? Krishn, boys in our family do not date. Boys follow our instructions to get married. Huh? Yes, that was when I found out that in my family, typical Asian extended family, we didn't have the usual norm of discovering a girlfriend or boyfriend. We instead, well, forget the we. I had to follow the words of my Nan and get married to someone she would choose. And that's when all the trouble started. Meeting upon meeting, girl upon girl, years upon years, years went by. Literally a decade went by where I would meet girls, parents of girls, and I would fall into trouble. I would be looking at the wrong sister. I would be going to the wrong house. I even fell in love with the wrong girl. But guess what? It all had to be according as per the wish of my Nan, and she was never satisfied, because I realized that Nan wanted the best out of me, but the way she would express it was not the best of kind. Have you heard of that statistics where teenagers, when they went into adulthood, would usually hear 6,000 yeses compared to 60,000 no's? I think for me it was more like 6 million no's. Krishn, don't do this. Krishn, don't do that. Krishn, never do this. And it went on and on and on. And I was getting formatted. So I went into this whole relationship, this whole courtship, this whole experience of meeting girls from the eyes of my Nan. And it happened that one meeting, one fateful meeting, I was so not into meeting girls anymore because 10 years had passed. I hadn't found Mrs. Krishn. And things were not happening. And I just messed it up. I just left the room. I didn't talk to anyone. For my Nan, it was not the right thing to do. When everyone had gone and it was only her and me alone in the house, she called me to her side and told me, Krishn, you disappoint me so much. Why did you have to disrespect me in front of these people, of these strangers? Did you know the girl? She's perfect for you. She's perfect for the family. You're going to have this amazing life. And I realized then and there that it wasn't perfect for me, because what she was trying to do was live her ambitions, her dreams, her goals through me. And that was not what I wanted. And I broke down, not in tears, but something broke inside of me. And I nearly went into a depression. And no one knew about it. And my Nan was still trying to get the next girl, the next suitor, the next family to fit me. And I was slowly getting into depression. And at one point, I just stopped talking to everyone. My Nan thought, oh, I think he's just going in that phase where he just wants to have this kind of physical relationship. He can't even express it now. He needs to find a girl. But I just wanted to have peace of mind. I just wanted to get out of it. I just wanted things to stop. But guess what? Things happen for a reason. And I fell on that statement from Helen Keller that says, life is worth living. And if you haven't lived it, you're not living it at all. And that was the moment when things started to change for me. But when that happened, things got better. But I still hear my Nan saying to me, Krishn, you should do this. Krishn, you should do that. Even though I'm married with 2 kids, she's never happy. But guess what? You're never going to make people happy. You're never going to make others love you for who you are. You need to love yourself first, and only then will you be happy. Madam Toastmaster.
Wow. Awesome, Krishn. Great words to live by. I know quite a few friends that have had those arranged marriages, and they are on their 10th and 15th year, and in some instances it works, and I'm always so amazed when I hear about this. Mr. Timer, can you tell us how our speakers did regarding their time?
Well, actually, Christopher is going to be our winner by default by virtue of time.
All right.
I'm posting him in the chat. I'm sorry, there's Christopher qualified, Krishn ran just a little bit over, and Elaine, if it was supposed to be 3 to 5 minutes, it was about 8. So.
Okay, well then, Christopher, congratulations. I'm proud of you. Great job. Let's give him a round of applause. We are now ready for our second part of the meeting, and we have a phenomenal table topic master in Toastmaster Graham. Please help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster Graham.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be the ringmaster of your table topic session tonight. Sorry, it's the best I could do with a kazoo. Tonight's theme is fun childhood memories. And so all of the table topics tonight will be related to childhood memories, and hopefully those will be fun ones. Although, if you had a childhood that wasn't filled with fun, then feel free to tell us about that too. The timing for table topics is you're asked to speak for between 1 and 2 minutes. So, David, if we can have lights at a green light at 1, an amber at 1.5, and a red light at 2. And if you can keep an eye on David's timing device, that would be good. So, the first of our table topics tonight, I'm on vacation. I'm currently in Las Vegas. The hat says so. But that wasn't somewhere I went as a child. Probably not somewhere where you went as a child either. So I'd like you to tell me about your best vacation spot as a child, please, Monica. Ladies and gentlemen, Monica.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters guests. I think one of my favorite childhood memories is almost in my back door, or it used to be anyway. It was called Opryland. And it was in Nashville, Tennessee. And we would go up there every summer. And it got to be a fun place for me. And I got to learn all the little nooks and crannies in some of the park areas. And I really was upset when they talked about getting rid of it. And it's actually now a big shopping center. It's Opry Mills. And none of the rides are still there. And you can't do any of the things you did when I was a child. And actually, I had some pictures show up from some of my friends from where we grew up of the park. And I couldn't believe, you think about it when you're a child, and then you look back on pictures and you're like, I don't remember that. I don't remember that. So I was going through all those memories again. But I think overall, one of my favorite childhood memories that was ongoing for years was Opryland. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Monica. And it's an interesting experience. You can't go home again, even if you want to. I mentioned that I'm in Vegas. What do you do in Vegas? You drink. What else do you do in Vegas? You eat and eat and eat, because the buffets in this town are legendary. I might tell you, we've been to 3 in 3 days, and only one of them has been, I think, worthy of going to, but that's not the point. The one that was worthy of going to was because it was full of comfort food, things that I enjoyed as a child and really, really loved. Which brings us to our second table topic. Tell me about a favorite meal from your childhood, please, Marty. You'll need to demute yourself. Yep.
You did mean me, right?
Yes, indeed.
Thank you. Mr. Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. My name is Marty Sandler, and I've always enjoyed eating. Altogether too much, or so my parents would say. And my doctors at various times said the same, and I just kept enjoying. Well, one of my favorite meals was an evening during the summer. I don't remember which summer, but I do know it was summer because we, rather than being home, were in a place, a bungalow colony, if you like, where we had gone and rented a little place for the summer. And for whatever reason, my mother picked that particular night to make a roast beef. Specifically, I remember even this now, it was an eye round roast. And it was delicious. And I kept asking for more. I was eating gravy with the meat. I had bread that I would dip in the gravy. And my mother, for many years after that, said, all you did was chew and then say, more meat for the gravy, more gravy for the bread, more bread for the meat, more. Well, that is what I did. And that was certainly a favorite meal. In fact, it's one of my favorites even now. Of course, now I am a little better at pacing myself. So that is the story of my favorite childhood meal, and one I will enjoy thinking about. Mr. Topics Master, I appreciate you giving me a chance to do so.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you, and bon appetit next time you get the opportunity. Something else that we look forward to or look back to from our childhood is something that I saw a little earlier this evening. When we were getting set up, one of the members here turned off their camera and brought up an image instead, and that was an image of Lego blocks. Jimmy Dent, tell me, was Lego one of your childhood loves, or is that something that came later?
Legos was not one of my childhood loves, but it's now a love of my grandchild, who has the entire dining room table filled with Lego buildings and trains, and he's very much into Star Wars themes, and he's got ships there, and he's got them around other tables in the living room and dining room area. And he's really good at putting the kits together. He's excellent at reading the instructions. He's 12 years old, and he has no worry about putting them together. And I've shown him how to do. I've gave him some ideas. He has set up Lego meetings with everybody lined up and somebody speaking. And he's made, like the picture is, he's made a table. And, you know, they're giving presentation. Of course, their Star Wars characters are planning something. But Legos is all over the house. He's got them in his bedroom. He's got them in the dining room, the living room. And so that's kind of a childhood memory I wish I had when I was a child.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you for that. I should tell you that one of the memories that parents of any child or grandparents of any child with Lego have is the stepping on them in the dark in bare feet. They hurt. Ouch. Sil, I want you to tell me about the toys that you had as a child, and were they different from, for example, the toys that children of today have? So, ladies and gentlemen, Sil. I know you're General Evaluator, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Thank you, Graham. I grew up in the Soviet Union. And in the speech I gave recently, I explained that was the time where we had deficit in everything. There was a long queues in the store to buy something. So of course we didn't have much. Mostly our toys was what we found in the street. Sticks, you know, everything. So we just pretended that we were having adventures. We were living in some kind of islands and we had to survive. So that was fun. And but when my dad had business trip and he went to big cities, and sometimes he brought some toys like dolls or maybe cars, and we definitely enjoyed them. We took those toys outside and just everyone could play with those toys, and we enjoyed so much because, you know, you appreciate things that you don't have, and when you have that, and it seems like you are having some kind of like treasure. So my childhood memories, I don't say that they were sad, they were healthy, and because we spent most of our time outside and we were happy playing games that we made up, and that we like, it wasn't like, you know, following like red. So yeah, back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Asil. Thank you very much for that. Adults have stone soup where we all put together something to create something healthy and tasty for us all. Children tend to share their toys, although not always is that the case. Now, I have a question. Do you have a school teacher who had an influence on you for good or ill? Somebody who you can point to in your childhood and say, that teacher made a difference one way or another. Cigar, I'd like to ask you that question if I can, please.
Yes, thank you, Table Topic Master. While growing up, I had a lot of fun. I used to play with my sister and friends and also go to school, unfortunately. However, as far as the teacher is concerned, I had so many great teachers during my childhood in school as well as outside of school. But my favorite teacher is my mother, who always used to use all these different quotes and phrases to inspire us to do something great. She used to say, she used to repeat this phrase a lot of time about the best thing to do is to do it, really do it. And we always used to say, let's do it. So anything, either it is a good thing or a bad thing. We used to say, you know what, my mama told me, just do it. And after a failure, or rather a naughty things that we did, and when my father or mother used to look at us with that scary face, big eyes, we used to say, you know what, my mama told me the best thing is to do it, is to do it. Back to you, sir.
I'm not entirely sure that that would have worked with my father. He probably would have said, well, your mother can tell you what she likes. But, all right, when you're a child, you have friends who are going to be friends for life, friends who are going to be your friends forever and ever and ever and ever, and yeah, they're not. They drift away. You drift away. For whatever reason, friends move on from our lives. Trisha, can you tell us about a friend that you had as a child that you've lost contact with, but perhaps that you'd like to reach out to if you could?
I had to think about that. Two people came to my mind. One, well, let me go back to when I was in school. I went to one school up through 7th grade and another school from 8th grade through high school. So up to 7th grade, I had a really good friend, and she was a really good gymnastics. Her mother passed away in a car accident. So after that, it really changed our friendship. And actually, once I moved away, I kept in touch with her because we were both in track. But she's one I reconnected with when we were in our freshman year in college and started our adult lives, but since I have not seen her. The other friend, we went to different schools, but she ended up being my best friend at the school I went to up through high school, if I can talk about that as well. We went through track together, choir, many of the high school committees and groups and things. I connected with her after high school, college, and even through church and women's groups. But we've drifted apart, even though she's in another community. I know where she's at, I know where she works. I've been the one to reach out and keep in touch with her, but we live different lives, I guess. So yeah, that was a little hurtful, but I know where she is. So at least I know how to reach her. So I think it needs to work both ways. If you want to keep in touch, it has to be reciprocated. Otherwise, we have to learn how to let go. And that's something that I've grown with this last year. So it took me a long time to be able to do that. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Trisha. And I see by the clock that we are now at 32 past the hour, which according to the agenda is where we wrap up, which is really unfortunate because I had one last topic that I wanted to ask, and I'm going to ask it anyway. So, John Quick, in 30 seconds or less, tell me about your favorite form of entertainment as a child. Was it a quiz show? Was it a TV program? Was it a radio serial? Your favorite entertainment as a child. John Quick, 30 seconds.
Mr. Toastmaster, we did mention Press Your Luck in the chat earlier, the 80s version, which I loved. And we used to say, big whammies, no bucks. But my ultimate favorite was video games. I spent countless hours playing those as a child, and I still play them today. So that's my number one, and I'll keep it short for you, Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you, John. And if I can ask the timekeeper to put the times of all of the topic speakers into the chat box so we can decide on who was the best topic speaker, who was eligible. But we'll make John eligible as well because I artificially shortened his time. And on that note, I hand control back to the Toastmaster.
Graham, that was really entertaining. I loved hearing all the different childhood stories. And thank you, Andy, for letting us know that there are 5 Legolands throughout the world. But I'm with John. I went to the one in Florida, and it really ups the game. So if you have an opportunity, you're coming down for Disney or something like that, definitely visit the Legoland in Florida. It's very, very cool. We are at our final stage of the meeting, and I want to do a big shout out to Asil for taking on the General Evaluator role. And I see David Carr has put in the chat box the time, so everybody can vote for their favorite table topics and send votes to Mr. Jimmy Barr. Let's welcome Asil, our General Evaluator.
Fellow Toastmasters and dear guests, I am your General Evaluator for today's meeting. And for the benefit of the guests, my role is divided into 3 parts. One is to introduce the evaluators of the prepared speeches, and 2 is call upon our helpers of their respective reports. And finally, I shall give my overall evaluations of the meeting. So now let's commence with the evaluations of the prepared speeches. I would like to call our first evaluator, Sarah, who will be evaluating Elaine's speech.
Thank you very much. It is my absolute honor to evaluate Elaine's speech, considering she's actually the first person I got to know at Online Presenters Club. Elaine, I find your presentation very well prepared. The background is extremely helpful. It outlined the guest speaker's name, time, and the title. It really helps us to understand what you're talking about. I really appreciate the screen sharing function. It really very clear and easy to understand. You gave us a step-by-step tour how to navigate the website. I think that shows one of the best features of online presenting. it's seeing is believing. That's very good. I would like to say, I don't know if it is a problem of internet connection on my end or the internet connection on your end. What I find is when you're waving your hands like this, because of the internet speed, the hands movement become a shadow. You can double check the video recording afterwards, and I think maybe do some testing. If it is a problem on your end with the speed, then my recommendation is try not to show gestures, because when you keep your face still, it is less of those, I would call shadows. And so it is something that can be very distracting for people. And my next suggestion is, I find it would be helpful to add a little bit transition words at the beginning. For me, it take until the end, very end of your speech to figure out what you were asking us to do. I think if you can see at the beginning saying, oh, actually, to prepare everyone better for the guest speech, here is your homework to do. And also, I find one thing I want to mention in your speech, when you are pulling up some video, I think, on the website, you said, sorry, you were apologizing. I would say, don't do it. I mean, I know sometimes people tend to have that soft spot, trying to be very polite, but don't do it. If you don't say anything, we will not know. In general, I really enjoyed your speech. I really like your energy, and you're very friendly at engaging with the audience. Good job.
Phil?
Sorry, I forgot that I am the general evaluator. I was looking at Sarah thinking, oh, wow, she did well. She did good. So our next evaluator is Lou. Lou is evaluating Chris' speech. Please help me welcome Lou.
Thank you, Madam GE. And yes, Sarah, tough act to follow. Oh my goodness. Let's see how well this goes. Gather around, my fellow Toastmasters, as I share with you Toastmaster Christopher Hulse's 38th Toastmasters speech called Death of the Aerostar. Chris, wonderful job. I really enjoyed your speech. I was actually unsure if this was going to be something related to Star Wars. I am not familiar with the Ford Aerostar, so wonderful job. And actually, I'm not going to say tricking me, but certainly throwing a curveball my way. I thought this was going to be something space related, so awesome job. For your evaluation, I am going to follow the evaluation form. Easiest thing for someone who just signed up for the evaluator role, who was voluntold for this meeting. First of all, what indicated to me that the audience was entertained? Well, I certainly saw all eyes were on you. Folks are certainly paying very close attention, which thankfully is easy to observe when we are in an online club. Much more difficult in a brick and mortar. Describe the dramatic impact of the talk on me. Dramatic delivery, I really enjoyed it. You use the chronology approach, which is of course very popular and logical choice for the storytelling. What I found very interesting is that to me, this almost appeared to have two plot twists. The car accident itself, as well as the consequences of not telling the truth. So you did a great example in illustrating that point. And again, kind of throwing another curveball my way, in that I was expecting the car accident itself to be the dramatic point. You described several items well, like when the car hit the gravel. I did see several opportunities for even more vivid imagery, which was another question on the evaluation form in terms of drumming up vivid imagery in my mind. I would have liked to have heard things like, what was the look of the car? I know it's a Ford Aerostar, but still. The trip and road conditions, lighting. Were you singing, playing the kazoo? Did the car screech? as it started to hit the gravel? What is your dad's character like? Because you described him as being a rather strict authoritarian type of person. Maybe you could have done some actual lines in his voice, or as close as you could, in terms of how he acts. Was he loud? How he beat you within 1 inch of your life, and what he said to you when you actually told him about the car accident. Great eye contact, confident demeanor. I actually would have never known that you threw this together 1 hour before the meeting if you didn't say otherwise, because you really delivered it very well. I would suggest, again, adding more dramatic vocal variety, some inflection, and there were some opportunities for effective pauses as well, which is something that is so critical in a story. I did hear a few sighs up front, so be cognizant of that. Again, wonderful speech, wonderful delivery. Always a pleasure to learn more about each of our fellow Toastmasters. I look forward to you both achieving your DTM and future speeches. Madam General Evaluator.
Great evaluation, Lou. So now we will call our third evaluator, Nick. He will be evaluating Krishn's speech. Yay.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Krishn, loved it, good project, good solid start, and there are a few things to work on. We know that. We've actually been messaging privately. Now, the entertaining speaker, be yourself. The message that you gave me and what I heard was something like, don't worry, be happy. And that's the positive and affirming message that I got throughout the project, so well done. Really wanted to thank you for that. In terms of things that I really liked was the fact that this project is an advanced project from the legacy manuals, and it calls for stories and anecdotes and quotations. It calls for a message that the speaker is comfortable with, and I really thought you did very well with that, because when you're comfortable with the subject and sharing with us, you very much connected with us on that, so well done. In terms of other things that I liked, this connection actually transcended many boundaries across the world, across cultural divides and so on. And what you did was you actually made us think about how we grew up, about our relationship with our families and our matriarchs. We love our matriarchs, don't we? We like to be big men, but in reality, we like to be spoilt as well. So I can really connect with you on that. Couple of recommendations for you. Now, I actually went back and read through the original manual. Now, this did say from other sources. That's the project, other sources. To help you on that way, one suggestion I would have is to say, rather than keep making it just personal to yourself, you'd say, my friend Nick, when he was growing up. And so you put everything into the third person because you're getting the source of the information from that third person. So that way you can keep the stories, but fulfill the project as well. So have a look at that. In terms of another recommendation, I think really what it comes down to is energy, acting, and a little bit of pizzazz. What that will do is, I realize it's 4:30 and 5 o'clock in the morning there, but that energy that you bring normally, what it does is it helps your vocal variety. It helps your hand gestures stay within the frame. It helps the pace of your speech. It helps you smile. And that smile means that it helps your tone, your projection, your voice, but most importantly, your eye contact. So bring that energy, bring the eyes, bring the hands, bring all of yourself, allow yourself to go, and don't worry, be happy. Overall, fabulous storytelling technique. In summary, talk to the third person, more coffee, more smile. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Nick. Great evaluation. So, Mr. Timer, David, would you let us know who is qualified?
All qualified.
Oh,
And
great.
the times are being posted.
Great. Thank you, David. Please send your votes to our vote counter, Jim Barber. So now I will call upon our helpers to give their valuable reports. So we start our counter. John, quick.
Madam General Evaluator, I listened to our speakers, paying special attention today, and wanted to point out Elaine used anyway quite a few times, usually in regards to I'm done with whatever this tech thing is now. I'm going on to continue my speech. Chris, you also use special words well and you know quite a few times. Now for everybody else in the club, I counted and I quit counting at 40 ands used as sentence starters or run on and run on and run on. This is a reminder to take a break between your sentences or to break your sentences into smaller pieces so we're not constantly and. With more than 40 in an hour-long meeting, it means we're all using it perpetually throughout the whole meeting pretty much. So that's something for us to be aware of next time around. Madam General Evaluator.
I used to say a lot, so they nominated me as the queen of R's and O's. So but now I don't have that title. Our next helper, grammarian, Trisha Snow.
Did you say Trisha Snow? Thank you. It's Trisha. And I had the same problem as you, Asil, so I'm still working on my and too. So thank you for that. This is the first time that I've held the role as grammarian. I did enjoy all of the topics. My job was to point out who used our word of the day, and the only one that I remember is from Lois, and of course a demonstration from the table topics master, Graham, which was awesome. So those were the two that I counted in terms of word of the day. I could get into the topics that everyone spoke about because it was very endearing, all the examples of childhood memories and evaluations and everything. Everybody did a great job. So those were the two main places that I heard the word of the day. I was very impressed with how the evaluators used their English language and all of the speakers, especially Elaine. She was the first speaker. And the formality of using the evaluation worksheet, I think it was, that was a formal use of the English language. So overall, it's all impressive. We're all professional here. So kudos to everybody. Thank you. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Trisha, I'm so sorry that I called you Snow. I know why, because I read show and watcher as a Snow, so I thought it was your last name, so sorry. So next, watcher Jimmy Dent, please help me welcome him.
Thank you, Asil. Well, watching everybody tonight, I think everybody had a good image. The lighting seemed good or fair and adequate. Everybody seemed to stay pretty well centered or positioned in their frame. Some of the backgrounds I like, Joy's background, Krishna's, Lewis's, Asil's. I like Jim Barber's insert of the kazoo. I think that helped everybody understand that. And Elaine's background showing the special event next week. Even if you didn't have a green screen, I think everybody had a pleasant background that was non-distracting. And that's my report.
Thank you, Jimmy. Chat monitor, Monica, please help me welcome her.
You, Madam General Evaluator. For the chat monitoring tonight, it started off with John Quick's email address. So if you need that, you can save the chat or find it before you close it to get John's new email address. And then we went on talking about Pressure Luck and the different game shows that we thought our boxes looked like. And I remember Pressure Luck because I always used to holler, no whammies, no whammies. And we went on from there talking about Legoland. And I did some research while we were talking about it because I was like, I don't even know where these things are at. And then somebody had posted that there were different ones around the country, Legoland in San Diego, Orlando. There's some in China, UK, Malaysia, but it's headquartered in Denmark. Everybody needs to know that. It could be a trivia question for you somewhere. And I did find out they have like discovery centers in various areas, and there's also a Legoland Express. So there's different options out there for you if you want to try some. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Monica. So we finished this portion. If you sent all votes to our vote counter, if you haven't sent it, so please do it now. The meeting went well, I think. I always enjoy, and I think it's worth to wake up early and join the meeting. I learned from our evaluator, Sarah. Thank you so much for stepping up as our evaluator today. You did your feedback well. I actually, when I listened to you, I forgot that I was the general evaluator. So you talked about transitions words, and do not apologize. And Lou, the tip was following the evaluations forms, so I'll be using that too. And Nick, you were good with your evaluations as well. I admire Krishn that he does a lot, not only in this club and in other clubs too. So he's very dedicated Toastmaster. Well done, Krishn. So everyone, I think, did well. So Jim, can you share who is our best speaker, best evaluator, and best table topic speaker?
With pleasure, Madam General Evaluator. Hold on to your kazoos, everybody. This is a shocker. Our best speaker of the evening was Chris. Our best table topics presenter was Marty. And our best evaluator was Nick. I will post those in the chat to make it official.
Yay, congratulations to all of our best of the best. So now I will call our Toastmaster of the day, Lois. Thank you so much for giving me this role. This was our this is my lesson to get out of my comfort zone. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Asa. I absolutely appreciate you stepping up. One of the roles when you get to level 3 is to be the Toastmaster of the day and listen to what everyone's saying and be able to comment on that. And I'm working on that project right now. You also have to do that for a table. I think it's also interesting being the general evaluator, stepping in like you did and just running with it. You did a great job. Much appreciated. We are at the end of the meeting. I'm calling back our president. Oh, wait, that's me. So I'm calling myself back just to see how everybody's doing and kind of doing a little bit of a check-in. We did have a fabulous meeting. Everybody stepped up to the plate. And Nick, I really like your background there. That's very different. I'd like to our guests and see, what did you all think about this? Nick, I'm sorry, Marty, what did you think about the meeting?
Well, last week was my first time with this club, and I was delighted. In fact, my wife commented that it's the most open and happy time she's seen me in months, and tonight was even better. Of course, I'm rather surprised at the results of the vote counting, but I thank you for that, and I hope that I will continue to contribute. Back to you.
All right, well, thank you, Marty. We're glad you enjoyed. I'm sure they will be in touch with you. Sarah, what did you think?
I really enjoyed it. Great speeches, very friendly club. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to be an evaluator. Very happy to participate. Look forward to more. Thank you.
We appreciate you stepping up and being an evaluator at the last minute like that. A true distinguished Toastmaster shows up at any moment. Let's see, Sagar, I do not think is still on. Yes, Sagar, what did you think about the meeting?
Yeah, it was absolutely delightful meeting, just like Marty said, and I agree with Sarah. I'm impressed and looking forward to join the club. Thank you.
Well, we're happy to have you. Before, right?
What was
Sagar,
that? Sorry.
Have you been here before?
Yes, I have. This is my
so.
second or
Okay.
third.
And Sangs 1504, can we hear your name and what you thought?
Yeah, hi, my name is Sangeeta, and I felt that the club is great. I found it to be very friendly and efficient as well. And I would really like to join this club.
Wonderful. Well, Elaine, look at that. You have people who love the club. We are happy to hear that. Sometimes we have, oh, you have to say something. Go ahead, Elaine.
Yeah, I'd like our guest Sangs 1504 to put her email address in the chat for me. I'm not sure if I have her information.
Okay.
And I want to be able to communicate with her.
I think that is her email address at gmail.com.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yep. At gmail.com. Congratulations to all of our winners today. We are within minutes. I know Grant, he's going to have drinks online, or maybe he's actually going to meet people. Not sure. I was reading through that chat going,
I'm meeting up. I don't know how many of you know Monica. She's a member of a couple of online clubs. Oh no. I'm going to have one. You ever have one of those moments where you forget somebody's name, even though you're going to go out and see them in a couple of minutes? I'll think about this and come back to you in a second.
Okay.
Nadia. Nadia Selke, who's based here in Los Vegas, but she's also an online Toastmaster. Anyway, I'll shut up now and go away.
Okay, so it's physical drinks. That's what I'm getting out of this. It's physical drinks. Enjoy. It is now 8:58. Do we have any questions? Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and officially the meeting. We will stay on for another few minutes. The executive board is meeting at 9:10. I have emailed to the executive board the chat room. It's my personal one. However, let me see if I can find it. But I know I sent it to you, and everybody else I ended up emailing to. Let me see. Here it is. I'm just going to put it in the box so that the chat, everybody can go there from the executive board. In addition to that, contest time is coming up, and your executive board is going to be talking about contests. I've had a couple of people asking me, where do they sign up? So it sounds like our club definitely wants to do a contest, whether we're just doing a video contest or a webinar contest. Those are two different kinds. Just out of curiosity, if we did a video contest, who here would sign up? Even our guests, if you join, would you sign up to do a video contest? Okay.
Just so everybody's clear, the video contest is one of the official Toastmasters International contests. So it's something that they make available for undistricted clubs, which is what we are. We have no particular geographic location, so that is something that we can compete with, and the videos go off to Toastmasters International to get judged based on who wins at our club level.
David, for that contest, is there a requirement?
The webinar contest is something that we cooked up on our own, and so it has no official standing. But the idea was to do something along the theme of this club the idea of learning online presentation skills specifically. So that is a contest to give a 5 to 7 minute webinar. I think we made it 6 to 8 or something last time we did it to give you a little bit more time to futz with technology. And so you could come in and you could give it as if it was a commercial webinar, as if you were selling a product. But whatever it is, it's supposed to be an impressive presentation that makes specific use of the online environment. Whereas the video skill contest, you're actually competing with people who may be at distant geographic locations, and so they give their speech on video in order to compete. And so more people do those speeches standing up, more delivering it like it was any other speech. You can do it sitting down at your computer, but you're still trying to make a presentation more like what you would do in the International Speech Contest.
Okay, and I know there are some questions in the chat box. Stay online, but it's 9 o'clock and I want to honor everybody's time. So I am officially going to end the meeting. David will stop the recording and we will stay on for about another 5 or 6